Hi, my name is Jeff Bowman, and my quality of character presentation will be on resilience. The reason I chose resilience is for my personal situation when I took over a varsity basketball program at the high school level that had lost 46 straight games before I took over. We went on to lose 35 more in a row during my first two seasons till we finally broke the so-called streak at the end of my second year. So I knew resilience was going to be an important part of building the program. John Wooden was quoted as saying, "A true competitor gets the most joy out of the most difficult circumstances. The real competitors love a tough situation. That is when they focus better and function better." And I think that's something I try to focus with on my kids when we were building the program is the resilience was going to be important, and we had to accept the challenges along the way, and hopefully that would lead to more focus and more improvement. What exactly is resilience? Resilience, by definition, is an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. In this presentation, I'm going to try to focus on what is resilience in athletics. And I would say resilience in athletics is the ability to bounce back from a poor performance or a detrimental mistake. And those things go hand in hand to leading to an athlete's success in their future. An athlete's perspective, a coach's perspective, what exactly does it mean to each for resilience? For an athlete, does an athlete have the proper frame of mind to handle adversity? Are they willing to learn from their mistakes? Are they willing to accept responsibility? Are they willing to challenge themselves? What are the advantages of handling adversity for an athlete? I think you get more joy out of being in the bad times and coming out of that. I think you learn from your mistakes. I think everyone would agree from that, and it's a great teaching tool. And the only way you're going to learn from your mistakes is to make the mistakes and be willing to make mistakes. And again, if you do that as an athlete, you're going to get better. From a coach's perspective, again, I think it's similar to an athlete. Does the coach have the right frame of mind to handle adversity? Are they focused just on the results, or are they focused on the process? How do coaches effectively teach their athletes to be resilient? I think coaches have a role to teach resilience, to show resilience. And again, that is critical. To me, the role of the coach is to role model the positive behavior and expectations. Your athletes respond to you as a coach. They look at you, they read your body language, they read how you communicate. Encourage your athletes, your team to accept responsibility, own their mistakes, own their success. Have a strong support system in place for your team and your athletes. Ideally, your coaching staff is all on the same page. You're in it together and you're giving the same messages. And your administration hopefully is doing the same thing for you and you're working hand in hand with that. Along the way, there's always going to be positives. It's important to build off them. All right. And again, there's going to be ups and downs, but try to focus on the positives as a coach. The athlete, we want them to be willing learners. We want them to accept coaching and the support from their teammates along the way. I think it's important that they're willing to take risks. We need our athletes to put themselves in the fire sometimes. And too often it seems like athletes are scared to put themselves in a situation where they may fail. And I think it's important that they do put themselves in those situations because, again, that's how you learn, that's how you grow, and that resilience is a part of that. And once again, we want our athletes to remain positive through all the trials and tribulations along the way. Speaking of overcoming, and no one better than Michael Jordan on the NBA floor, he says, "I've failed over and over and over in my life. That's why I succeed." I think, again, that just speaks to learning from our mistakes along the way and growing from our mistakes. Michael Jordan was actually cut from his high school basketball team as a freshman and went on to probably become one of the best players in NBA history. And if that doesn't show resilience, I'm not sure what does. Brad Stevens is a coach I look up to and admire. And Brad Stevens was quoted as saying, "As a coach, I think that's one of the things we have to exude, the ability to move on regardless of the result." This little clip here is is from the 2010 national title, and this is how close Butler was to winning the national title. You obviously cannot get much closer to winning a national title than what happened in that sequence. Again, I think Brad Stevens deserves a ton of credit, along with his staff and his program. In many cases, if that happens to a team, they do not bounce back the next year. It cripples them for a long time. Butler was back in the national championship game the next year. And again, I think that says a lot about resilience. Again, here's another Butler clip. I took this clip from my Principles in Leadership course that I'm taking simultaneously. And in this clip, again, you're going to see not just Brad Stevens in this case, but his team handle a situation very well that could have went very wrong, and their ability to bounce back was tremendous. They're inbounding here with 4 seconds left, down 1. And you see a travel right away. I think one thing to highlight is his teammate immediately comes over, kind of slaps him 5, saying, hey, hang in there. Let's get on to the next play. Don't worry about it. That support system is in place. You can see Brad Stevens has already went to the sideline, down the bench. Hey, I need a sub. He's on to the next play. Again, without that mindset from his team, his players, you do not see them get themselves in the situation to win the game. We see the chaos from the win, but again, I think that is resiliency in action. How often do we as coaches see our team, our individuals make a mistake, they put their head down, and they're not ready for the next play? You saw everyone on the floor ready to make a play. They do make a play, and the coaching staff certainly gets a big part of that as well in terms of how they handle it in their body language and just them moving up as well. In this Rudy clip, we see Fortune. The first clip is Fortune basically talking Rudy off the ledge. Rudy was ready to quit. He was not on the final dress list for the last home game. And again, this is a support system in place where Rudy was basically challenged by Fortune and basically laid into a little bit. And Rudy responds, he bounces back, and we all know how he finishes his career in that final game at Notre Dame. So resilient athletes, I think we can take away that they are more likely to become strong leaders. I think that's something that shows from resilience. I think good teammates are resilient, and they have a better chance of performing at a high level. Resiliency leads to learning from your mistakes and getting yourself better along the way. Resilient coaches are able to focus on the process over the results. They're willing to accept responsibility for their players' mistakes. I think that's sometimes important as a coach, that we try to take some of the responsibility and blame away from our players. And just like that Butler clip, successfully transition to the next play, the next practice, to the next game. All too often, we ride that roller coaster ride as a coach and want to try to be better. In conclusion, resilience is a critical characteristic to help ensure long-term success as an athlete, a coach, a program. Resilience can be demonstrated in many ways as an athlete and a coach, whether it's through communication or body language. And being resilient helps make future success that much more enjoyable. I thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.